More power
Mm.
to you. But other than that, we're going to start this. What is going on, you guys? Is your shooter the Ryo Sakurai? Let me fix the dock on camera. There we go. That's fine. But this time I am not alone. I am joined by once again my friend Daniel, who had this
Hi.
idea a couple months ago. What was the idea, Daniel?
Um, m- my idea was essentially this, with considering the fact that the Tom Hardy Venom movie is coming out. So I thought it would be fun for us to have a discussion about essentially about the other time we actually saw uh, Venom in film form, and that it was in Spider-Man 3. So why not have a discussion on the Spider-Man trilogy, the original Sam Raimi trilogy
Oh wow, yeah.
from yeah from from the early 2000s. So
Okay, so
mm,
how do I want to say this? Back when I was a kid, um, I was more than I every night I wished upon a star, one of my lucky stars, every Christmas, that one day we were gonna get a Spider-Man movie, like the first official Spider-Man movie, and um, after a while, I started to notice that like we were slowly but surely getting into like the movie era for heroes, right? We started
yeah,
getting movies about Blade. We started getting movies about the Hulk. But
we were starting also to get the X-Men,
yes,
of course.
we also were getting the X-Men, of course. But then like the thing that was really encouraging in the back of my mind was like, when is Spider-Man gonna get one? Cause like I don't know about you, but in my opinion, Spider-Man is like the what I want to say, the main favorite of all Marvel heroes. Like
Yeah,
he's the most talked about. He's the most well known. Cause
yeah,
not much people know
yeah.
about the Hulk or Thor or Iron Man. Like you would have to really find out about Marvel in order for you to find out who these other heroes are.
Yeah, and essentially, Spider-Man is kind of sort of like the crowning jewel of Marvel Comics. So it's you gotta go pretty far without finding somebody who doesn't know who the character is. Mm. So yeah, actually, on that note, I you mentioned that this was sort of like sort of the coming of age for comic book movies, because we have had this really dark times with the Schumacher Batman movies in the
Oh
mid
yeah,
'90s. Yeah,
yeah.
and then of course, like you mentioned, we got Blade, and then we got X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
and finally in 2002 we finally got the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Willem Dafoe, and so on. Um, and I kind of want to ask you this: what was sort of your first experience with the Spider-Man one when you first saw it?
All right. Well, the first time that I went to go see it, I actually went to go see it in the theaters when it first came out. I
Mm,
was with my sort of like father figure at the time. Rest in
mm,
peace. Um, but
right.
he introduced me to the Marvel hero movies because I didn't know much about Marvel. All I knew were the cartoons, like Spider-Man the animated series. Sometimes there
Yeah,
was the Hulk, and then there was X-Men and all that. I didn't know much about Marvel other than those shows, and I loved the crap out of those shows.
yeah, me too.
So when I first got to see this Spider-Man movie, I immediately fell more in love with Spider-Man than I did ever before because I genuinely like I was always saying before, he's my favorite hero. I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man since I was like a little kid. I love him to this day. And when I first got to
Yeah,
see it, like I don't know about you, but I enjoyed the movie a lot. It showed like the first villain that we got to see. We got to see the conflict between him and Norman Osborn. By the way, Norman Osborn, especially in this game that just came out, he's pretty much of a dick.
Yeah.
Like he is a dick.
Yeah.
And then we see the contrast with like Mary Jane and Peter. Like in this version of Spider-Man, he always had a crush on her and whatnot. They were childhood friends, and as the movie went on, he started to see that, yeah, you have this power, but just like your uncle said, who died, you have an obligation to use this power for something to protect people. And even though you want something in your life like love and happiness and all that, you're gonna have to sacrifice that in order to keep the people around you safe. And that was the message that I got when I first saw the movie. When I first saw the Spider-Man series in general.
Mm.
What about you though?
Yeah. Actually, like I said, I grew up with the comics. I grew up with the Spider-Man animated series that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wasn't really looking forward to it because at least when it first came around, because I was a little bit dreading it a bit because again, this is like when comic book movies was kind of like box office poison. So I really was sort of dreading it, and then the first really advertising that it first got really like a sucker just reeled me in, and I still remember the poster that they first put out, which was Spider-Man looking over, I guess it's sort of over the New York skyline, and you can see the reflection of the World Trade Center in Spider-Man's eye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I still remember that poster, and of course it was later recalled because of 9/11,
Yeah.
and so I still remember that. And when I finally got to see it, I don't think I think I pretty much lost my mind. Just the idea that yes, we finally sort of got him. So
Right.
I mean, so to me, it's. I think I pretty much when I finally got it on VHS, I think I pretty much it was like for a couple of months. I watched it almost daily right after school.
Oh, you too, huh?
So
Cause
yeah,
I did the same exact thing. I was lucky enough to get it on VHS, and I still had my VHS thing at the time. So whenever I got to watch it, I watched it, and I memorized every scene
yeah, me
of that
too.
movie. I don't
Absolutely.
know. I think it was just the idea of having Spider-Man be on the big screen and web swinging around the city.
Yeah, because and also at the time we didn't know that the fact that the comic book movie genre was gonna explode to what it is today.
Right.
So to us, this was just new ground for us. The fact that we finally got at least this much. So, and there is a lot of good things that I really do like about it. I think also the fact that the first time I actually saw it, and I kind of also want to bring this up. Um, One thing that sort of always stuck out to me the first time I saw it was the web shooters that Peter has in the movie is different from of course, different from the comics, and that sort of took me out a little bit. I don't know how you feel about them, but eventually, as the movie went on, I went along, ended up going along with it, even though I personally prefer the more technological side of it rather
Yeah.
than the organic ones.
Yeah. I didn't really I I didn't really look at it much as like a bad thing. It was mostly like confusing me because at first I was like, wait a minute, this version of Spider-Man has organic web shooters, but the one I knew, he
Yeah,
developed his web shooters mechanically.
yeah,
So it was a bit of a disappointment to me because I realized that was a part of Peter Parker's charm, was that he's an inventor. Like
Yeah.
he loves to come up with gadgets and stuff that to help him, and and not even big gadgets, but like small little trinkets, just like the web shoes and all that. And that's something that's like a staple with Spider-Man, because he's constantly doing more than these, more like these little devices that help him like in a fight, or help him like
Yeah.
absolve some kind of issue that's going on. Like, I don't know. It was a bit off to me, but I looked over it because I
Yeah.
just loved the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you eventually get over it because everything else in the movie is so freaking strong, from the characters, from essentially the story, from also of course a great villain in the Green Goblin,
Right.
like, or Norman Osborn. Um, I, Also, when it comes to the Green Goblin costume, I mean, I actually remember a lot of people actually complaining about it. I think some might still do, not that much, because it really does kind of comes off as sort of like a Power Ranger of the suit instead of yeah.
You know what? I had I had the word Power Rangers in my head when you just brought up Green Goblin, and I'll be damned
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
did not just bring it up. Lord
Yeah, I
Jesus.
had to do it.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
To
So,
me,
what do you?
what? Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah. So, what exactly do you think of it? Because to me, I mean, I can understand why they went with the design that they did, because it at least is somewhat more practical. Because otherwise, you would have an actor completely covered in makeup and prosthetics, and people would be like, "That's just too silly." So, I don't know. What do you think of that?
Well, honestly, I do not mind it because, like I was saying before, this is the first time we ever got to see a Spider-Man movie. So not many people were even sure how in God's name they were going to modernize a Green Goblin. Like from the original design of Green Goblin, it's literally a goblin in like a purple like a purple type of jumpsuit with this long purple Santa hat. How can you even begin to modernize that? So, like for that, I didn't mind it, cause like to me the suit reminds me a little bit of like if Power Rangers and like Garo got crossed, but like between realms, cause and plus the mask wasn't even bad, because you got like we all gotta remember, like Green Goblin's original mask, like it is more flesh-like. So I don't know if that would be good, because that would probably scare the shit out of me if it was like more flesh-like. Because like the way I think about it, I don't think they could do Hobgoblin the same. Because Hobgoblin is like the exact same, only he's a little yellow and orange. So I honestly don't know, but like I personally wanted him to have his purple bag or whatever, like something on the lines of that nature, because like after like a couple more series went on for the animated series, we got another one which was called Spectacular Spider-Man, and they had an episode where they showed Green Goblin, but it was a different type of Green Goblin. Like he had the mask, the hat was fine, but you could see he was a little more altered. And that, to me, I think they could have took that route for the Green Goblin in this movie. Not to say that it was so bad, like the Green Goblin that we got was so bad, but it would have been cool if that we got the Spectacular Spider-Man version of Green Goblin in that movie.
Yeah, that I can see that. I can totally see that. So, are there any? Do you have like any favorite scenes from Spider-Man One that always kind of stuck out to you?
Actually, yes.
Mm,
It was the very first time he started web swinging. Like
yeah.
he was nervous as shit at first, and then when he jumped, it just
Mm,
became natural to him, and he just went with it. Of course, like
yeah.
no one is gonna immediately get used to swinging, um, at that type of height, going that fast. It's like somebody that would be afraid of a roller coaster that is trying to force themselves to not be afraid of a roller coaster. Like, it's gonna take some time.
Yeah. Are you talking about that scene where he's chasing after Uncle Ben's carjacker?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
made
honestly
sure.
love that scene because they showed the movie was actually showing us as to how they were going to portray Spider-Man web swinging around the city, and they did this so good was because because everybody was okay around that time before the movie came out. Everybody was speculating how the hell are they going to do the web swinging thing.
Mm,
That's insane. We don't like there's no such thing as a web fluid that can hold a person's weight and have him swing to and from. There's no way they can make an angle like that, and lo and behold, they did it.
yeah. They absolutely did. For me, I think the fights the wrestling match between him and Bonza.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah,
That
that was
was
funny.
funny. That was so funny.
Yeah, and a lot of people also, I guess, some one complaint I think a lot of people have is the fact that this Spider-Man isn't quippy enough. If you look at it from that perspective, yeah, but it's like this, that all the quips are kind of sort of evenly spread out throughout the movie. So I think they were just afraid to go all out. That it might be a little bit distracting to have essentially a superhero just quipping one-liners constantly.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
so I mean, and the fact of the matter is, in that match, you do get to hear him actually do throw a few quips out, like when he's hanging onto the bars of the cage, and it's like that's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like I think around well, of course, every movie that like first movie that starts, especially for hero movies, they're
yeah,
afraid to really go all out for the character because they're not sure whether or not the audience will like it. They're not sure whether or not it will sell. They're not sure whether or not it's gonna buy tickets if they really just have the character do everything that character they want to do. And the thing about
yeah,
that is you can't be afraid because
yeah,
a lot of people already know, especially for Marvel fans, that Spider-Man
yeah,
is always putting out one-liners. Take example for this game that just came out, Spider-Man for PS4.
yeah,
He is constantly putting out jokes, one-liners, and
yeah,
being as embarrassing as he possibly can. And that's the thing. That's Spider-Man's charm. We love that about
yeah,
Spider-Man. And that's the reason why
yeah.
this game is doing so good. It's because the character that is Spider-Man is really in this game.
Yeah, I
So,
do, I will kind of make an argument the fact that you couldn't do it back then because we didn't know exactly how to do superhero movies back then. We didn't really know how the a mainstream audience was gonna accept this because you had
right.
had in the years prior you had the Superman movie from the 70s. You had Tim Burton's Batman from the 80s. The Schumacher Batman from the 90s. We are not going to discuss that.
No.
And so to the audience, our suspension of disbelief wasn't there yet. Now it is, and a big chunk of that is because comic book movies has come such a long way. Because of things like especially, I think this is sort of like the lynch point for where every other comic book movies has gone on since then and either expanded or improved or whatever. So yeah, I can make that. I want to make that point a little bit here.
Right.
That that this was that the audience couldn't really accept it. So at least back in 2002. I mean, now we have come such a long way, and a big chunk of that is because of movies like The Dark Knight or the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Logan or Deadpool. We can do those things now, but it needed to start off somewhere, and I think Spider-Man 1 was our starting point.
Right. It definitely was. Like I totally agree with you on that. Because like the first time they came out, not many people were so gung ho about hero movies.
Yeah.
And then after this came out, everybody freaking loved it. Like the fandom for Marvel movies, or superhero movies in general, just started happening, and people wanted more. And after that, I think we got some more X-Men movies. We got like some more hero movies.
Yeah.
Around that time, I think it was Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
So then came the sequel, which is Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And this one, in my opinion, everyone loved. Everyone loved Spider-Man 2. I love the hell out of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, so do I. So yeah, Spider-Man 2, and I will actually make the argument that technically it's still the better movie in terms of, if I were to compare like Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man 2, which is the better film, I will actually make the argument for Spider-Man 2 because it has a little bit. I think, and a lot of it is because the characters, I think, is a little bit more investing. Spider-Man Homecoming is a lot of fun, but at the same time, I kind of like. I mean, I think one thing that I really do like about Spider-Man 2, especially, is Doc Ock.
The development with Doc Ock was just
especially and also to see where the relationship between Harry and Peter actually has been going, and just see they're essentially almost starting to really slip apart, but they still really care for one another still.
Right. Because for one, let's get to Doc Ock. So we start off seeing him as like of course a brilliant scientist who is close to getting into a breakthrough. He has a lovable wife. He couldn't be any more happier, and he's trying so hard to make his project work that something happens, a freak accident happens. He wants to push through. Like Spider-Man comes in, he tries to pull everything apart so that it'll stop. It goes wrong because it was like a fraction of a second too late. The chip goes haywire, and then the doggone experiment goes awry, blows up, and it shatters some glass and hits his wife and kills her.
Yeah.
So and then after that, it just went all downhill for Doc Ock. Like he lost his house, he lost his wife, he lost like people who respected him, he lost the funding. He just lost everything.
Absolutely, and it's a really tragic scientist story, but it's one that's really good, and especially the scene in which where he's in the hospital and the surgeons are trying to use chainsaws to get off his arm, the attachable metal arms that he has on. It's like a freaking horror movie.
Oh yeah.
It really, yeah. And there's no music. It's just you just hear the screams, and you hear the chainsaws just going, and the arms just attacking people. Oh man.
Yeah. I love how they made like the tentacle arms be as like a second voice in Doc Ock's head, because the chip was designed to keep them under control.
Yeah, and without it now, the arms can control him instead of him controlling the arms.
Right. And so
Hmm.
they convince him to steal to get the money himself so that he can fund like his project again. But this time
Yeah.
he wants it to destroy the city, well basically like level the damn city. Um,
Hmm.
while that's going on, Peter is he's going from job to job. He's almost like he's past due on his rent. Um, he's having
Yeah.
conflictions with trying to let
Yeah.
Mary Jane know that he likes her, well he's in love with her, but he can't let her know that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. He basically has so many problems because he's trying to balance both the superhero life and of course trying to keep a job to try. He always showing up late for classes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to him it's just his life is just a complete mess. And basically and he can even show up to even to Mary Jane's stage play at the times at times. So yeah, because there's always something that constantly getting in the way.
Right. Like that
Yeah.
that's his life, and then while that's happening, like he's going on a confliction because Mary Jane's about to get married to this space like you were
Yeah.
saying, this space explorer who is
Yeah.
apparently Jane Jonah Jameson's son, which is so
Oh yeah.
backstabbing, and like I swear to God, like people for Spider-Man fans, y'all should know how that song dance goes. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Harry blames Peter for the death of his father and everything, and he feels down. He feels depressed, and
Absolutely. Yeah, because of the fact that Peter takes photographs of Spider-Man and he believes Spider-Man killed his father. So and so
he
he
yeah
kind of
he
so he
believes
kind of
that.
he kind of indirectly blames Peter for not telling him who Spider-Man is, whether he knows it or not.
Right.
So yeah.
So after that, yeah, he goes into this really sad, depressive state, and while he's web swinging, like his power is just immediately cut off.
Yeah.
They're not paralyzed or whatever. It's just been cut off, and I think and a lot of people, well, especially me, in the theaters, we were speculating that his powers affects like his emotions affect his powers.
Yeah.
If he's very innovative and happy, then he's gonna be at his best. But if he's sad all the time and depressed, then he's gonna be cut off for a while. And that's
Yeah.
what we see. And I think I think that's what they were trying to get in this Spider-Man trilogy, is that like
Yeah.
he really has like powers, more than just crawling on walls. Like he can also web swing without having to use mechanical things. So
Yeah.
when he's cut off, like he's completely powerless and he can't do much to save people. And after a
Mm.
while, he tries to save people, but he can only save like one at a time because he's still like his powers are cut off, so he's a regular human again.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you kind of brought up something that I forgot to mention here because when we talk about big some casting choices in superhero movies, whether it be Hugh Jackman as Wolverine or Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man or even Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, there's one casting choice in the entire, at least throughout this entire trilogy, that I think is so underappreciated, and that is J.K. Simmons as Jameson.
Oh yes,
Because
yes,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely. When I saw him, I just like, yep, that's the Jameson for you.
yes. Like
Because
okay,
he's
yeah. Seriously,
yeah,
let's talk about J. Jonah Jameson real quick. So
yeah,
um,
hell yeah,
the first we're gonna backtrack to the first movie because that's when he
yeah,
got first debuted. So
yeah,
when I first saw J. Jonah Jameson on here, And I remembered him from the Spider-Man series, especially the classic Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah.
I looked at him and then I looked at the act and I was like, oh my god. Yes. Like he has the face, he has the voice, he has the haircut, like he has the attitude. Yes.
Absolutely. And he always tries to bring down Spider-Man, even. And I just love the fact that he's like, if he doesn't want to be famous, then I'll make him infamous.
Right, I'll make him infamous.
Yeah.
So it's just something about that character. It's like he nailed it so goddamn good. And
absolutely.
Like, oh my goodness, I wish to God that they would have, like, you know, gone something with that a little more, and brought in like someone like Scorpion in Spider-Man 3 or and whatnot, because that would have been great if they would have did that instead of going the route of like Venom or Sandman and like move Sandman to like another movie. That would have been just fine.
Absolutely. It would have been cool to kind of maybe see something like in Spider-Man 3, which we'll eventually get to, like something in the lines of, like, you know, Harry, like basically Harry Osborn becoming Goblin 2 and Scorpion somehow trying to take him out.
Yeah. Oh my god, like that would have been so good, because not only would that have wrapped up the whole conflict between him and Harry that was boiling up, but it would also have wrapped up the conflict between him and J. Jonah Jameson for that appropriate time, because after a while, because you and I both know that Jonah Jameson, he is completely pissed off that Spider-Man's still around, so he tries to make a hero that like an anti-hero to take down Spider-Man, to like get him out of here and whatnot. And of course it goes completely awry, and the person that he chose was unstable, and he became the Scorpion. Like, that would have been great. That would have been so good.
Absolutely. And of course, when we talk about, at least to be the biggest highlight of Spider-Man 2, is of course the train scene.
Oh yes. Yeah. Let's talk about this train scene.
Yeah.
So, fast forward in this movie, aside of all the stuff that's happening between Peter Parker and Mary Jane, constantly back and forth, we see after Peter Parker gets his powers back, he follows Doc Ock on this train, and they have this nice battle. Even to this day, people make AMVs for it. They make music video tributes of this doggone movie and have to put this scene in that video every time, because the scene is just so good, the way they bounce off each other. Spider-Man does this, so Doc Ock does that. Doc Ock does this, throws somebody off of off the train. Spider-Man catches them and web swings to safety. Like,
and then and eventually had to try to stop this runaway car by just throwing one web after the other and try to hold on for dear life.
Yes. And then we see like the actual strength that Spider-Man actually had, because a lot of people, I'm gonna level with you right now, Danny.
Yeah.
In this movie, but before this movie, everybody thought that Spider-Man was like weak or whatever. Like, he wasn't really super strong. He couldn't handle himself like for heavy objects and whatnot. This movie, however, proved a lot of them wrong, because they thought that he couldn't stop anything like that. He actually can. It's just that he has to focus and really push himself in order to unlock his true potential, because Spider-Man always has potential. He always has true potential, always. So when he stops this train, you see him, his body being almost torn apart and whatnot. Of course, it wasn't the best idea that he could have did, but it was what he came up with at the time. So you just see him being pulled, being stretched like, and still holding on to like the web fluid that he sprung. And
Yeah.
just about as it was about to come off the rail, it finally stops, and he's exhausted.
Absolutely, and everybody grabs him in essentially the classic Christ pose. Obviously, but he is unmasked. And I really like the fact that one of the guys is like, he's just a kid, no older than my son.
Right.
So it also goes to show exactly how young Peter Parker actually is. So yeah, I mean, it's a great scene, and I think it's still probably, even still to this day, I think it's still the best action sequence ever made to film in terms of in terms of at least in Spider-Man related media.
Right. And
Absolutely.
And considering like the dream sequence that he had with Uncle Ben, and he's trying to explain to Peter that like he can't give up and whatnot, and Peter's just like, no, I'm stressed out, I'm tired, I don't want to be Spider-Man anymore. And after a while, like he's living a good life, but then he sees like the city falling apart without him, like people getting mugged in alleys, people dying and everywhere. There's still more robberies going on. Like the world just, like the city's just falling apart.
Yeah, absolutely. The city's falling apart without him, and and also one thing that always stands out to me is the scene where he's with Aunt May and he confesses what actually happened the night Uncle Ben got shot.
Yeah, that was very emotional and whatnot, because you see that Aunt May knows that he's not telling the whole entire truth. She knows it, and only like a parent knows that he's telling you the truth, but not the entire truth. Like he's hiding something. So that was an emotional part. And then when she tells him that, like, you know, to do what's right, you have to give up the thing you want the most, even your dreams. And once he tells Doc Ock this in the final scene, Doc Ock just says, you know what, fine, if I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna die a monster. So while the machine is about to, you know, implode and level the whole city, he sacrifices himself deep in the water and drowning it so that it doesn't do any damage. He dies, and then we get the whole thing with Mary Jane and Peter and whatnot, and they try to fix their relationship or whatnot. And afterwards,
because actually Mary Jane actually is getting married, so and now she knows why Peter has been the way that he's been, because he is actually Spider-Man.
Right.
So it's one of those things. And actually, also to backtrack, because there's one element of Spider-Man 1 I forgot to mention, and that is the scene where Peter and Uncle Ben is sitting in the car, and they're basically discussing, you know, the fact that Ben is like, okay, what is happening to you? Why are you're skipping out on your chores? You sacrificed at school, and I mean, I know you're going through some changes, and you know, I don't mean to preach, and Peter's just trying to sort of end up being kind of like pretty dickish about it.
Like I'm not gonna lie, he did not handle that very well. He did not handle that.
But then again, he's a teenager, so
True.
I mean, I can kind of understand that why he ended up giving such a harsh, like being so harsh. Especially like when Uncle Ben is like, you know, I don't mean to preach, and no, I'm not your father, and he's like, then stop pretending to be. I mean, I kind of understood it when I was a kid, and I didn't really think about it. Now it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, especially after you find out that was the very last thing he ever said to his uncle. Like if you ever like went through shit like that, and that was the last thing you ever said to that person, that starts to like really get to you. And of course it got to Peter. Of course, without question, it got to him.
Yeah, it really did, and you do see it after they come back from the memorials, from the service. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
yeah,
it honestly sucks. But
it it honestly does.
but yeah,
So basically that's Spider-Man 1, that's Spider-Man 2.
right.
So now now let's get into Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, you know what, Daniel? I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not watch this with an intention to see this all the way through. I want you to
okay.
know that like there are some parts that I watched and there are some parts that I did not watch because
Mm,
I started to get really cringed over some parts, over some scenes.
mm,
But of course, the beginning of this, it starts off okay as
mm.
Peter Parker being Spider-Man and he's doing his daily thing of watching over the city and whatnot.
Yeah, and he's now dating Mary Jane, and he's gonna propose to her.
Yeah,
And
and then after that whole thing, Harry becomes more of a he really starts to show his dickish side that he
yeah,
picked up from his father. Um, that because he's constantly asking Peter, have you seen any bugs lately, or have you seen any
mm,
bugs tonight? It's like, bro, really? Like that's how you handle that? That's how you go about talking to your best friend about that? Like, really? But
yeah,
um yeah, that's how that goes. He he actually tries to jump Peter Parker while he's on his moped and whatnot. While he's in his like new Green Goblin suit, he goes completely fully enraged at Peter. Starts to throw
mm,
buildings at him, stuff like that. Throwing him to and from, trying to make like basically trying to kill him.
yeah.
Peter
And
is
eventually,
yeah.
it ends with Peter knocking him unconscious, and he wakes up in the hospital with with amnesia. So great.
Yeah. Perfect.
When it comes to Spider-Man 3, I've seen it all the way through a few times. I don't mind it. I think it's just very disappointing, and it's overcrammed with way too much stuff going on. In fact, I believe even at the time they even discussed the possibility of splitting this into two films because there was so much story. So, and of course, the most infamous thing is how Sony forced Sam Raimi to put Venom into this. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where even to start. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the movie is just so baffling to me because Spider-Man 1, yeah, it has its hokey moments, but it's still relatively good. Spider-Man 2 is even better, and this one takes just a massive dive. And
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that they sort of retcon Uncle Ben's death by saying, "Oh yeah, it wasn't this guy, it was actually this guy."
Yeah, that was the
And,
thing that was actually pretty dumb. Why did
yeah,
they do that? They could have added Sandman in a whole different way. If they really
yeah.
wanted to add Sandman, they could have just went to the original comic origin about Sandman. It didn't have to be something like that.
No, they didn't. Oh man. And of course it's so silly. But one thing I will give it that I will give the movie this, that I do like the birth of the Sandman. I think that sequence is fantastic. Um, that is the one thing I actually that is the one scene I actually legitimately like. And there's almost nothing else really to talk about because there's a lot of scenes that just, like you said, it just makes you cringe. It's 2 hours and it feels like 4 hours. It's the biggest try not to cringe challenge. It especially with things like Emo Peter and and the dancing at the jazz club, like
Oh
what?
yes, and then there was that part. I felt so cringy when I saw that. Like
Yeah,
I tried to watch it, but it was so dickish of Peter to be like that, and then and it was so unneeded, and
yeah, and then
and then the fact that, like, I'm sorry, but it's too many characters in this movie. It's way too many
absolutely.
characters.
Yeah, and you also get Gwen Stacy in it for like 2 minutes, so, and everybody sort of forgets it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about that. Like Gwen Stacy is in this. She's like this like thing that's supposed to like piss off Mary Jane, because she's coming on Spider-Man, like, and whatnot. Then you got Mary
Yeah,
Jane being dumb and trying to push Peter away at times where she shouldn't, where she should be sticking with him the most, especially when
yeah,
Harry's trying to threaten both of their lives. You got Harry who's all over the place. You got
yeah,
Eddie Brock, who is trying to do whatever he can to be better than Peter Parker and whatnot, and not really being Eddie Brock.
mm. Yeah. It's not really Eddie Brock. Plus the fact that I think casting Topher Grace is such a terrible casting
It
choice.
is because he doesn't look like Eddie Brock. He doesn't talk like Eddie Brock. Like
Yeah,
the reason why this Venom movie is gonna be so good in my opinion is because the character that we got in for this movie is good. He looks like Eddie Brock. He talks like Eddie Brock.
yeah,
He has the posture of Eddie Brock. This was just like some teenager trying to uh uh be a douchebag, and
yeah,
then he just got the Venom suit out of some way, shape, or form.
yeah. And
And
one thing I hate that they didn't cash in on is the dream sequence that is both in the comics and is in the animated series. But involving,
oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah. Okay, so you basically get that dream. I would have loved to get that dream sequence with the black spider suit and the red and blue Spider-Man suit, and showing the struggle and how much they sort of almost end up tearing the psyche of Peter apart.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like we see that in the original series. We see that in the Spectacular Spider-Man series. Because they damn sure showed that. They showed the conflict of the symbiote trying to take over Peter Parker's mind,
yeah,
and his whole reason for wanting to do stuff, and then like it was showing him trying to battle back, and Uncle Ben being like his being in his corner, and telling him to not let the symbiote win and whatnot.
yeah.
Like, just Jesus Christ, I don't know where they were going with that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I would, if I had to guess, I guess Sam Raimi uh kind of was creatively exhausted from the from the two films. That is probably the only guess, not to mention the Sony mandates and everything. I think it ending up just being a massive dumpster fire in the end. And that's one of the reasons why, of course, they ended up canceling Spider-Man 4, and they rebooted with the Amazing Spider-Man series. And when that didn't work, they were like, you know what, Marvel, you can have him at least for now, but we are gonna still maintain the rights.
Yeah. Because and in my point of view, I think after the Amazing Spider-Man, like, they tried to make attempts to make, another trilogy, and then
Yeah, I mean,
they
they
didn't
had
do
the
so
idea of
good.
another trilogy, and they were gonna set up the Sinister Six,
Right.
but it didn't go anywhere.
And I was so pissed off about that. I was like, oh, we get to see Sinister Six, and then it didn't happen. And then I was like, okay, where are y'all trying to go with this?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I think Sony, they have good intentions, but they don't know what to do with Spider-Man. They don't know. As far as the movies go, the games, they're doing fine with the doggone games. The game's doing fine. It's just
yeah.
that the movies is just it's a hit and a miss sometimes. It really is. And
Yeah,
You would have
Yeah,
to be blind to not see that.
yeah, they started off pretty good, and then they just lost their way and ended up just missing the mark constantly after that. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to say. That's that's kind of sort of the thing about Spider-Man 3. It's just a mess, especially when you have. There was one guy I heard once. Said this about Venom, and I think it's very poignant. That he basically said that Venom showed up, didn't do nothing for 30 minutes, and then lost.
Yeah,
That
that's basically what he did.
yeah,
He showed up for a good second and tried to harass Mary Jane and whatnot, and then it just went nowhere.
yeah,
It just went nowhere because all we saw was him, raging out and whatnot, and then Peter and Harry deal with him. Harry dies, which was honestly dumb. Why did they have
yeah.
Harry die? Did
Yeah, Harry died, Venom slash Eddie Brock died, and Sandman just blew up in the wind, I guess.
Yeah, Sandman just gave up and left. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Huh? Like, I don't even know what to make of this, and like the ending didn't make any damn sense, because
No.
then there's there's this backhand awkward statement where Mary Jane says we got to sit together because if it weren't for all this, it would be for nothing. Huh?
Yeah.
You're the main one to talk. You weren't with him this entire movie until the very end.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. In conclusion,
Spider-Man 3 did not do good for me. It just didn't.
no.
But fun fact though, even though
Yeah.
it didn't do good for me, I felt like it was it would have been very sad if I didn't buy the DVD for it along with the other two DVDs, because after I had bought got the VHS, I stopped using my VHS for a while, and then when I saw like the bundle pack of all three Spider movies, I was like, well, what the hell? I can't ignore the third movie like every day of my life, so just let's just buy this and then just put it on the shelf.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thing. I mean, I bought the 5-disc Blu-ray pack with all 5 Spider-Man films, at least from Spider-Man 1 to Amazing Spider-Man 2. I have yet to put on the Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's the only one I think is even worse than Spider-Man 3. So,
What you Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, I think that is the only one that's actually worse than Spider-Man 3, because at least Spider-Man 3 has at least somewhat of a cohesive narrative, and all the characters at least have established motivations. So,
yeah.
But I think we can. So, if you have to scale the movies from 1 to 10, how would you rate individual ones?
Okay, Spider-Man 1, 8 out of 10 for me. Spider-Man 2, 9 out of 10. Simply because of the fact that I want to see just a little bit more with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, 4 out of 10. And 4 out of 10 is being nice, okay?
Yeah, I can understand that. I think I'll go the same. I think for me, Spider-Man 1 is like a 7 out of 10. Spider-Man 2 is a 9 out of 10, and Spider-Man 3 is it's 4 out of 10. It's not the worst comic book movie ever made, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just all over the place. That's all that it is that's going on with this movie. It's just all over the place, and it doesn't know where it's trying to go.
Yeah, and I think it really is like that. It's just way too much stuff going on. Like I said, it's just too much stuff going on, and it's so crammed that You could have taken so much stuff. You could have taken all the unnecessary stuff out, especially the stuff with Venom and Sandman, and the movie would have been way more streamlined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
this is in hopes that MCU will make much better Spider-Man movies, because in my opinion, Spider-Man Homecoming was a good movie.
yeah, and Spider-Man: Far From Home is coming out in July next year.
Is that actually official though?
I think it kind of is.
Huh.
So I mean,
hope
it's
to.
either.
Huh?
I think it's either next year or July 2020. It's one of those.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm actually looking it up right now. So yeah, I just want to make sure that I don't state anything inaccurate here. So let's say feature films and yeah. Spider-Man Far From Home, July 5th, 2019.
Oh well.
So
I don't know how they're gonna do that, but you know what? I'm honestly psyched to see that. But yeah.
I mean, Mysterio is gonna be in it. So
Is that so?
yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal at least has been cast as Quentin Beck slash Mysterio.
Oh
So
my.
yeah.
Oh wow. Well.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna be something that I haven't seen yet. We haven't seen Mysterio just yet.
No, I think that will make a decent villain. So anyway, I think that's gonna conclude at least my thoughts on this.
Yeah, that's gonna conclude for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, thank you, Daniel, for being a part of this and coming up with this whole idea, talking about Spider-Man and all that, all around the time that I'm playing Spider-Man the game. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. Let us know in the comment section down below, what do you rate these three movies for Spider-Man 1 through Spider-Man 3? And if you want to rate The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then Spider-Man Homecoming, you are free to do so. As such, this has been the Ryo Sakurai and my friend Daniel, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Bye bye.